Welcome to Sit Around the Fire, the podcast dedicated to the men and women on the front lines, first responders, military personnel, and their families. I'm your host, Ashley Dillard, a retired firefighter paramedic turned full-time mental health professional. My passion is helping the helpers. Together, we'll explore the challenges, the triumphs, and the real stories behind the uniform. In each episode, we'll talk about mental, physical, and spiritual wellness, along with the unique culture that comes along with serving in a high-stress environment. From building strong relationships to navigating the weight of the job, this is a space where we can be real, share experiences, and support one another. Whether you're on the front lines yourself or you're supporting someone who is, this is a podcast to remind you that you are not alone. So grab a seat, pull up to the fire, and let's get into it. Hi, Pam. Good morning.
Good morning, Ashley. How are you?
Good, thank you. I'm so glad. Welcome to the podcast, and thank you again for taking the time out of your work day to sit down with us and kind of talk about all things about you and kind of just dive into a little bit more about your journey and your story and things like that.
Well, thanks for the invite. I'm super honored to be here. It's the first time I've done a podcast, so this will be great fun.
Yeah, it's just don't think too much about it. That's what I
let your brain go and be done with it. Yep.
Just go with it. Yeah. So, well, let's give the people a little bit of your background, kind of your story, and let them know who you are, kind of what you do, how you fit into the first responder world.
Perfect. So I have been in first response since 1995. I was actually working with a friend. We both worked in high school at Kentucky Fried Chicken. And she asked me one day if I wanted to go to EMT class with her. And I was a travel agent at the time. And I was like, sure, that sounds fun. And that was literally in 1995 when I finished my EMT class at Arapahoe Community College and got married the same year. And so I went to paramedic school in 1996. I started out with MedTrans ambulance back in the day, which isn't even around anymore. They've partnered many times. And so my first real job was a wheelchair EMT and then working in the 911 system in Commerce City. I went to paramedic school and graduated in 97, and I was lucky enough to work for Primark Paramedics back in the day. I was one of their first employees, and that is still to this day one of my biggest, greatest accomplishments is being able to do that. So I'm super grateful. I worked for Primark for, about 10 years. And actually, that was such an honor, like striping the ambulances and starting literally a company from scratch. And the owners were like, we have enough money to pay you guys for 3 months. So if you could go get us some business, that would be great. Or you don't have a job come July. So,
no pressure.
Yeah, no pressure at all. So I met some really great people who have honestly carried me through my career, taught me invaluable lessons, and taught me that EMS is more than just a job. And so for that, it's just so great. So then I went to nursing school and I graduated with my registered nurse, and I think that was like 2006 or 7. And I've actually kept my paramedic current because that was more work than nursing school ever was. I apologize to any nurses out there who might be listening to this, but
we love the nurses too, but
they're fantastic. It's just, I'm never getting rid of any of my certs. I'm going to be in the nursing home at 800 and, in my day. So, yes. And then I actually went to fly. So I've been a flight nurse since 2009 or 10, because I wanted to keep my paramedic certification current and my nursing. And so I worked at Longmont United for, almost 13, 14 years. And then now I'm flying full time. And I just love keeping up with the EMS side of things. I'll keep my national registry forever. It's just, that's my journey. And I'm so grateful every day for the job and the role and the work that we get to do.
Yeah, I love that. And you have, because I know you, is you have a little bit of a special story, and I wondered if you could share how your kids have come into the picture, into the world of EMS.
Yes, absolutely. So both of my kids have now, my daughter just finished paramedic school in August and she got pinned. I actually got to pin her a couple weeks ago. She went to EMT school almost right out of high school. So she didn't finish high school in high school. She did it online. She went out to North Carolina to ride horses and then came home and said, I want to do EMT. And I was like, are you sure? Like it's, but she's a wonderful, wonderful paramedic now. So she continued her journey. And then my son, who actually, he grew up playing hockey. And so he was in Boston playing hockey, played hockey for the Boston Junior Rangers, which is a huge accomplishment. Came back and did the same thing, said he wanted to go to EMT school. And so he did that. And he's now working for one of the local fire departments. And it was just, Ashley, it was so great watching his interview because they had to put together a PowerPoint. And just the last page of it was like, pay it forward, pay it backwards, pay it. And I was just like, holy cow, like you pulled all that from me. Like it
Wow.
just, you never know when you're making a difference, right? And he's like, I want to give back to my community that served me so well. And I want to stay local. And he's like, my folks taught me all these important rules. And I'm like, holy cow, at 20 years old, you're so put together. How are you, my child?
Wow.
But it's just like, it makes me cry, like their journeys. I look back on our journeys and I'm like, I'm in this role today because my really good friend said, do you want to go to EMT school? I had no idea that it would past this. My husband's a dispatcher. Both of my kids got in the industry and here I am 30 years later, still the job absolutely has its challenges, but it's just taught me so much and given me so much that I'm honestly forever grateful for that one conversation that you just never know the difference that you make or the things that you say, how important they are.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I agree. I think you've got deep EMS roots in your
Yes.
family.
For somebody who was like, I didn't even know what I wanted to do when I grew up. I was a travel agent and I worked at Kentucky Fried Chicken. Like, I wanted to wear heels and a skirt to work every day and be some kind of a business associate or something. And I was like, I was a secretary for 2 weeks. And I was like,
Yeah.
make your own coffee. This job is not for me.
Wow, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so very cool.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about you threw out something that I thought was really catching was EMS is more than a job. What does that actually mean to you?
It's so the people that we get to meet, like the relationships you carry forever. You meet people, it sounds probably super cliche, but you meet people in the worst days and the worst times of their life. And I haven't personally had situations like that. I mean, I guess that's not terribly true. Andy, my son was in two car accidents that were pretty significant and during COVID. And so it just you fall back on those relationships. Like one of the medics, he got hit head on at one of our big highways up here, and I was working in the ICU in COVID. And my husband called me, actually, dispatch called me and said, we're sending a helicopter to your son's accident. And I was like, time out. What are you talking about? Like, my heart sunk. I looked around. I'm like, I know none of you people. We're all covered up in masks and PPE. And one of their medics texted me a picture at that moment and he said, I know you are getting wind of this and your son is fine.
Oh,
And I was just like, holy crap. Okay. But those relationships are so important. And that to me is what's given back the most. Like I try to go to work with a good attitude and learn as much as I can and be the best provider that I can be. But at the end of the day, it's that ability to relate to people on their level. And the people in this industry have just taught me so much and just shown me roots that I didn't. I mean, to go back when I was my first day as an EMT, like I probably should have been fired, probably like first year taking care of people. I remember a code and my poor partner's in the back doing CPR and he's like, are you going to this hospital? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, turn around and go the other way, like
oh gosh.
I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm going the right way. And he's like, nope, you're still going the wrong way. I'm like, oh boy. Like, I don't know if this patient's going to live or not, but maybe I'll get you to the hospital.
Yeah.
So it's just, there's so much, we thrive in the unknown, and that's a very unusual place for people to survive. Like, we don't know what the day is going to bring. And so we have to adapt, and every day is adapting and growing and learning and being constantly uncomfortable. And, they teach you the book stuff, but that only takes you so far,
Hmm.
like, and so I just love, like, the relationships are just deep. I keep track of people from many, many years ago, and I still see them and I still talk to them. And, and like, even for you, Ashley, like, I'm so proud of your journey. We met not in EMS, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I want to watch you and support you. And it's just so, it comes full circle, you
Yeah.
know, in the strangest ways and the neatest ways. And you meet a lot of great people, and you get to be partners with a lot of great people. And it's, you spend your life with, people who aren't your family, but they become your family.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, the relationships really are everything in this industry.
Yeah. Yeah. If we didn't have those, like, I don't think any of us would work here. Like, that's what keeps us, there's so much gross and yucky, but then there's so much great to celebrate too. And it's fun to have the opportunity to celebrate the good with somebody and work through the bad with that same somebody.
Yeah, definitely. What do you think, or what do you wish somebody knew about your job that isn't necessarily common knowledge? Dive into a community where education meets connection. By joining our email list, you're not just signing up for updates or another message sent to your spam box. You're becoming part of a vibrant first responder family dedicated to growth and support. We're thrilled to announce that subscribers will receive exclusive access to our brand new worksheet, Mindsets to Mantras, designed to help you transform your mental state through intentional growth. This isn't just another piece of paper or another worksheet for you to complete. It's your first step towards mastering your own mindset. This worksheet is actually going to kick off our exciting new podcast series, Mindset and Manifestation, where we'll explore how to harness your own thoughts for real-world impact. Whether you're looking to improve your resilience on the job or just maybe find some balance in your personal life, this series is tailored for you. So don't miss out. Sign up for our email list now and elevate your journey as a first responder with tools, stories, and community support that really truly resonate.
I have to say, I was just thinking about this last night, and I am so proud of my kids because I didn't teach them this, but they have exquisite boundaries. And I mean that. Like, April's like, I have 3 days off, and I'm not checking my email. I'm not checking my phone. I'm not even being tempted by the opportunity to work. And for me, looking back, it was like every day you push through and you do what you need to do. And I watch my kids now, and I'm like, I promise you, I didn't teach you that. They figured it out on their own, or they watched me, like, not take time for myself and not do those things. And I just think that's so important, and we underestimate it. And I can see that super clearly now that I watch my kids. Like, my daughter's like, I'm going to go get my hair cut and I'm going to go hang out with my friends. And my son played pond hockey this weekend. And I'm like, that, you can't teach people that. But I think I mean, my career's been wonderful and I love it. I wouldn't change it. But I think that will carry them to be more successful and just deal differently than I think we deal with some of the situations that are presented to us. And 30 years ago, actually, we didn't talk about any of this. It was like you just put your hat on and went to work, and you wore the badge and you smiled at the end of the day and went home. They didn't teach us, like, go out and sit down and have a cup of coffee and go for a hike in the mountains. It was like, hey, when can you come back to work? We need you back here. We're short staffed. There's a nursing home call that needs to happen. And so I think the trajectory is shifting, and I'm so grateful to have my kids see that shift in the trajectory and focus on themselves. At least this job will take everything you give it. So you have to be mindful of, I'm not going to give it everything I have, because at the end of the day, I still have to have something left for me.
Right. Yeah, I have that conversation a lot with people is that this career will demand everything of you, a mind, body, and spirit, and externally family is involved, and you have to absolutely have boundaries, just like we do with any relationship, right? The only way
Yes.
to have a healthy relationship is with boundaries.
Yes, yes. And it just, you can't teach that. It's not in a textbook because it looks so different for everybody. And
Hmm.
I wish people, that's my biggest regret is understanding that now. I wish I would have taken more time with certain things. And, I don't really have many regrets, but I'm glad that my children saw the importance of that early in their careers. And I don't know if I subconsciously showed them that or they picked up on things, but I'm just so grateful that to me, that's the most important thing they took away from, wanting to do this career.
Yeah, definitely. So speaking of these people, well, you've been in the industry for a very, very long time, and I know you work with a lot of people who have been in the industry for a long time. What do you think is some things that, as if we looked at your culture specifically, your group, what do you think are some things that are worth being addressed now before, because retirement for a lot of these folks is just around the corner.
Yeah.
So, what do you think are some things that need to be addressed before retirement hits?
I think and I think about this often is how do we exit the industry gracefully? Like we are so used to being dependent on daily. And while that's a gift, I fear what happens when that isn't there anymore. When nobody's calling me and saying, "Hey, Pam, can you come and start an IV for me? Can you come and help me with this?" Like, what does that look like? Good, bad, or indifferent. That's been our everyday. Like these calls, these things, learning fills my bucket. I think they need to teach us how to step away gracefully and hand off the baton. Like, how do we, I have my kids, so I'll live vicariously through them, but it scares me to think about that. Like, what is my life going to be when my alarm goes off and I don't have to get up? Or what am I going to fill my time with? That's, like I go to the gym every day and that's great, but that's an hour. What's left and what kind of things have I put into place? Um, a prime example is my husband and I, now that the kids are growing and, leaving the house, we're like, how do we get back to us?
Mhm.
And that's what I'm going to have to learn. And that's what I think. I don't know that there's a good way to address it, but I think it's important for people leaving the industry and retiring. Like, how does that look for us? What are we going to do? What does it feel like? What does it look like? It's so unknown, and I don't think you know until you're there. And I just wish there was a way to be like, here's what this looks like. Here's what this feels like. Take some of these retired folks and say, what were your biggest challenges? I think the first couple months will be great. I'll be like, woohoo, I don't have to, go fill the helicopter with, jet fuel at 3 a.m. when it's snowing, and that's marvelous. But what happens when it's a nice day and I'm like, oh, I want to fly over the mountains and help somebody or something like that. So I think, how do we exit with everything intact and deal with some of the things that maybe we don't realize have affected us through our careers?
Yeah.
You know,
It almost sounds like a call to reach out. Like if you're getting, I mean, I think reaching out at any point in your career is crucial, sooner than later, even sometimes when you don't necessarily think you need to. But particularly to what you spoke to was reaching out in preparation of knowing that your transition, a big transition is about to happen, and how normal it is to have somebody help you walk through what that actually looks like.
yeah. And like getting into it, we have mentors, right? We have preceptors that show us, here's how you start an IV, here's how you drive the ambulance, here's how you drive the fire truck. Like, what happens when the day is done and the lights go out and you just, you leave your last shift? Like, I just, I wonder what that looks like, what that feels like, you know,
Mhm.
like, and will it be okay to call on friends and be like, hey, I'm thinking about this, or this is where I'm at now? And will they understand? What will those resources look like?
Right.
You know, I think they're like, hey, you got out, good for you, but this was your career, This is what you did every day. And this was your identifier. You put on that uniform every day. And I think we have to give some awareness of what happens when that uniform isn't yours to put on anymore.
Yeah. That's so powerful because I think it's important for everybody to just keep it in mind that that day could be tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah.
And
If we hurt ourselves, like, and I hurt myself a couple of years ago and was offline for 3 months, and I was like, gosh, this could be a reality. Like I am one situation away from something crummy happening, and we say retirement's so far in the future, we want to get there, but I just think we have to have conversations about what happens, what else is outside of there. Like you play sports and you're like, big NFL or hockey player, and we don't think about those guys like when they hit their last game or they have an injury that changes their jobs that they can no longer do that. What are their next steps? What do we do next? I'm hoping to be in good physical health and good mental health, but like you say, we're one situation away from an unplanned departure from the industry.
hey everyone, I want to take a moment to talk about our latest online workshop that's been a real game changer for many. We just wrapped up an incredible session on communication for first responder couples. This workshop delves into the unique challenges faced by both couples, where one or both partners are in high-stress emergency response roles. We cover strategies to strengthen your bond, manage stress, and communicate effectively when every moment counts. If you missed this one, don't worry. All of our courses are available for registration on the website. Whether you're looking to enhance your professional skills or manage your personal life a little bit better, we have workshops that are tailored just for you. Head over to the site, check out what's available, and sign up for the next session. You'll find practical insights and supportive communities that understand the life of first responders. Don't miss out on this opportunity to grow both personally and professionally. We've got 2 really amazing workshops coming up, both in March and April. Check out the website, get registered, and I'll see you there. Yeah, I heard a really cool perspective of something, whereas we think of it now of everything that we're doing is like training for that thing to come. So like training for retirement and training for that next season of life, and really starting to shift the mentality around what that looks like and making sure boundaries are set up and fostering and getting to know what this identity is outside of the uniform.
Yep. Yeah. And I think that's so important. And I don't know how we impact it or how we influence it, but I feel like there has to be some talk about it, like growing gracefully.
Yes. Yeah. I like that. Growing gracefully. Definitely.
I don't know if I plan on doing that, but I sure would like to think I do.
I mean, it can still be clunky and
right.
it's okay.
Yeah. But I want to go to McDonald's and have coffee in the morning with all the other old EMSers or something like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What does that look like? What does that feel like?
Yeah.
And I watch people that I started with retire and I'm like, gosh, that sounds so great. But I just wonder I don't want to say their demons are, but they have demons, like how does this truly impact them? And how do they step away without, I would like to know what their stresses are and what their pressures are and how they feel truly about what it's like to not be involved in something that you did for so long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it becomes very real, I think, for people to unpack one way or the other. It will show up once the noise is gone.
Yeah. And it's like, I hope I have the opportunity to unpack it. I don't know that I want it to just be sudden, like, okay, you're done today,
Yeah.
But then I don't know what's better or worse,
Yeah. Well, if there's any encouragement I can give is like start unpacking now. So it feels a lot less burdensome when you get there, and just continue one step at a time.
And I think recognizing it and talking about it, like, hey, this is going to be a real thing. We're going to be done with this job in however many years. What does that really look like and feel like, and have a mentor, have somebody who says, like, I still keep track of some of my friends who are retired. And I'm like, what does this really look like for you? More so because I have an awareness of I want to retire and I want to enjoy time not at work. But it scares me to think about that stuff too, like the not being needed and not putting on that uniform every day.
Yeah,
Take a lot of pride in it. You work really hard to get here. And then when you take it off, like,
I know.
you know, I can't, I can't imagine, you know?
Yeah, it's a huge shift, I think.
Yeah. I don't know if you felt any of that leaving, your role that you worked so hard to get and do. And even though it was a choice, I'm assuming it was a choice, it feels different because you're moving on to different things and while they're wonderful opportunities, you're like, but still,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize at the time how attached I was to just calling myself a paramedic. Like,
Yeah.
I used to get very annoyed when people, and Kyle would make fun of me because when people would say, "Oh, you're an EMT with the fire department," I'm like, "No, I am a
No, I'm a
paramedic."
paramedic and
Like,
I worked really hard to get here.
yeah,
Yeah.
but you become very, very like it is 100% your identity, and you have to slowly learn to let that go and realize like
Yes.
I'm not Ashley the paramedic, like I'm Ashley, and the paramedic is just a part of who I am, but
Right.
it's not
Yeah.
who I am.
It's not who I am and it doesn't define me. Like there's so many other things that define who Pam is or who Ashley is. And I think we lose sight of those things. And so we have to bring them back to the forefront and be like, I'm Pam, a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a family member. I go play sports. I'm in the community.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we just have to have some awareness of what this is going to be like.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and hopefully like this inspires people to start having those conversations.
Yeah. Well, you get into it and you work so dang hard and you're like, I'm not, like I say, I'm never letting my paramedic go. Why do I need it when I'm 80? Like I joke about it now just because it was so much work, but I don't need to keep it. Like
Yeah.
I think that has to be rather cathartic to just be like, I'm not this anymore.
Yeah.
This is a new phase of my life and here's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
But
don't think you want to be 80 doing CPR anymore.
yeah, right. I'm a DNR, like don't and I'm not doing it on my 80-year-old friend too. I'll be
Yeah,
like, I'm sorry.
yeah.
Yeah, like this ship has sailed.
Yeah. I'm making the best decision for the both of us right now.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes.
Ah. What are some of the challenges that you feel like you faced throughout your career?
I think just the ever changing environment of the career. There's so many more challenges. The challenges are good in that healthcare progresses, but those are also challenges too. Like there's so many more things out there. So we as paramedics and nurses have so much more responsibility. And we find new devices every day. We find new ways to manage people and they expect everybody expects us to have all the answers and we don't. And sometimes it feels like you fall short when they're like, well, but what about X, Y, and Z? Like, here's this and here's that. And what do we do? And I just think the external forces have changed the environment so much. Um, it goes without saying that mental health has changed. It feels like it's so much more prevalent. I think it's always been there. I don't think we realized how prevalent it was. And just some of the things that we're set to deal with. Like I was I was several years into my career or a few years into my career when, let's say, Columbine happened. Like that was a totally new thing. And we all learned from that how to deal with it. But things like that are out there. And so I think it's just being okay with knowing that things change and that the landscape is getting bigger, it's not getting smaller, and that you just have to be able to say, you know what, I don't know about that, or I'm going to research that, or that's not something that I'm going to put in my list of tricks that I feel like I need to have the knowledge for. It's just, but there's so many new things coming out there, and why that's really great. It's just hard to keep the pace, I guess, keeping the pace with everything that's changing and taking time for yourself it's a hard dichotomy to figure out what's my line in the sand. When am I going to take time for me? And when am I going to take time to learn what this new trick or new process or something is?
Yeah. Yes. What are What are some of the things that you mentioned before of like the mental health side? What have you noticed maybe for you or for folks that you work with? What do you think are some of the new and upcoming challenges or challenges maybe that have been there for a long time, like you said, that are now coming up?
What I wish, actually, and this, I don't know that my dream will ever come to fruition, but I wish we saw mental health as a work-related injury.
Mm-hmm.
I and I don't know if I'm free to share this, but I'm going to share it anyway. I had a very good friend who basically came to a point in her life where she had been drinking and was struggling mentally, and I was in a place to take her offline and help her through that and give her the resources and help. And I told her, I'm like, you are important and you matter, and I'm glad at the point in my career that I'm a leader to help influence this. But I told her, I said, this, I really think that mental health stuff should be covered under workman's comp, and we need to give these people the resources to be able to do it. People working in other industries like, computer science, they don't see the stuff that we see every day. And we don't, the body keeps score, right? Like, we don't pay attention to it until it hits us. And we joke in healthcare, like, I'm fine until somebody steals my pen and then I lose my marbles. Like, that's reflexive of something else. And I say it's like death by paper cut, right? Like, you don't notice the small cuts until they become big. And I just wish that hospitals and police and fire and EMS, I wish we gave mental health time or resources. Like my friend I'm speaking of, we sent her to rehab and that was all covered. And I think that should be part of our everyday thing. Like, Pam, you're having a tough day. I see that. Go take the day, take a day on the beach. I'm going to pay you your time to be here because I know you're going to come back stronger.
Mm-hmm.
And just wish that mental health and this stuff was a workman's comp thing, and that workman's comp carries so much negativity. And I don't know that we'll ever get to change that, but that's, if I could change. I sound like I'm doing a Miss America speech here. Sorry, Ashley. But I really think, like, all of us, we see so many things that we don't know how to deal with, that we don't have the resources to deal with. And suicide hits so heavy because people are like, I can't go to rehab because my family has to get paid. My family needs that money coming in. I'm the breadwinner. I'm a paramedic. I make decent money. My spouse at home maybe is a stay-at-home mom or dad, and if I don't have that coming in, and I think we don't give that enough credit. Like, I would love to see where people have to take 2 weeks off a year. Like, go, you get paid. Don't turn your cell phone on. Don't check your email. Like, we will not contact you. Go take time for yourself. And so there's a lot of focus on mental health, but I think we could take it one step farther and support, like, really give these people time away to recalibrate, regain. Their kids are going off to college. Okay, great. Take 2 weeks. I don't want to hear from you. Drive your kid to wherever they're going in school. Like, I just think there's so many little things we can do like that that will prevent some of the bigger long-term bad outcomes that we have in the industry.
Yeah, I'm like cheering inside with you because I 100% agree. And I think it's so crazy how if we did that, if we recognize the bad days, if we recognize the life transitions or things going on and said like take the time and don't worry about the money, of how much better people actually show up again for their job. It's
They'll
so
come back. They'll come back refreshed. Like, my friend she had 3 months off to get herself where she needed to be. And now she's a phenomenal employee. Like, I'm like, thank you. You came back. You told me you would. We supported you the whole time. And it felt challenging for me to support her in the ways that I did. But I was like, at the end of the day, I will stand up to anybody and tell you this is why I'm doing this. And if you want to fire me for it, worth it.
oh
Like,
yeah.
it's fine because it was the right thing,
Yeah.
you know?
I know it is so frustrating. I hear it all the time about people struggling to get mental health services covered, therapy alone, and any kind of progressive therapies like EMDR or brain mapping or psychedelic assisted therapy like is 100% not covered, so the cost is cumbersome, but
Yeah.
also just like the repercussions it takes for people of the stigmas that they feel like they carry at work, or they've been given those before seeking help out, or
Yes.
using substances and needing to go to rehab or into a program, and normalizing that, and how, like, we use these things as ineffective coping mechanisms. Like,
Yes. And they're great. Like go be on a farm for 2 weeks. Don't think about the outside reality, or go take your kid to preschool every day. That's fine. Like
mhm.
you'll still be here. You'll still get paid because you'll come back stronger, better, and you'll be a better long-term employee if I take care of you now. You know, I just, oh, it makes me sad to think about how many friends I've lost in the industry. And I wonder if those could have been prevented.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
feels like
I
it's
it makes me like it definitely like hits a very strong chord for me in what I've
100%.
experienced so far.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think very much so is like we just, and you see it all the time. Like this is happening all across the country
Yeah.
multiple times a day, like people taking their lives and ending it because like it's not just on us, but it is on them too. But like just getting people better equipped, it would make such a big difference.
Yes, just give them the tools and whatever those tools look like. Like I'm not going to judge if you want to go do, you want to go play motocross because that's your break. That's fine. I just need to support you and give you that time away to go do what you need to do. And I feel like the answer's real close to us. We're just too afraid to say yes. Or, our businesses are like, well, that'll cost us so much money. If Pam takes a week off, this is how much she makes a week. That will cost me that much in dollars. And what kind of therapy, or what things does she need? Like maybe she just wants to go do a float experience for a day or something like that. Like, okay, that costs you $400 or whatever it costs, but that will, in the end, give you money that you can't see. And that's the hard part. Like Pam will come back and work for me for another 3 years, and she will be a better employee and not call out sick because she managed this. And I think sometimes it's too, like you say, it's on us too, Ashley, which is 100% true. I think sometimes we don't realize it or don't admit it until we're too far there. And we lose our mind when somebody steals our pin and we're like, why am I so upset? Like I stole the pin from the bank. Like it's not my favorite pin, but I'm losing my brain over, spilled milk. And so I think if we could do some work there as an industry and like recognizing this and allowing people to say, I need a break. I just need a day off, and saying it's okay. Like we page out these urgent, I need urgent shift coverage right now because we had a sick call. Like that just feels pressuring to the people who are calling in sick.
Hmm.
Like, oh gosh, I'm leaving my team high and dry, and then they don't feel safe taking time for themselves because they feel like they're wrecking their teammates and unfortunately their family. Because these are our work family. We don't want to let them down.
Right. Yeah.
I don't want to come to work halfway for you. I don't want to be like, I'm not a good partner to Ashley today, so I'm going to put on my game face and figure it out. Well, your game face only lasts so long,
Hmm.
and then I'm mad at Ashley when she threw my chapstick out the window.
Yes. I mean, that
In
would
that
be really aggressive on my part, but yeah, I would also be having a bad day at that point.
right? Like, don't touch my chapstick. You can have everything else, but I just think it manifests itself in ways that we don't totally see or understand.
Yeah, it does. And those little things of the pin or the chapstick, like those are huge warning signs to pay attention to. Is it's not it's not okay, or it's not, I'm not in a good place when I'm freaking out over a pin.
Right, right, right. Like for reals, like you threw my pen. Okay, it was a pin. Like it got dirty.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
And I think just being aware of those subtleties is we're just not we're opening the can, but we're not quite totally there yet.
Right.
And being like, I'm not okay and I'm gonna take a day and that be fine. Check on your strong friends, make sure they're okay. But then on our side, I'm like, I'm having a bad day and I need to be able to share that and not feel it be risky.
Yes.
You know,
100%. Yes.
like we all have bad days and we all have great days, and we all come to work in a different space. Like, okay, today's not my day. Like, don't touch my chapstick, don't touch my pen, and we're going to get through this.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
What has it been like for you in your family life? Like having you got married right away as you were in EMT school and
Yeah.
doing that, and then through paramedic school, which is its own stressors. But like, what have you noticed, or what was it like now having an entire family of first responders? But how does home and work play out with each other?
It's better now. When I was in paramedic school, we did like a 24-hour shift on the ambulance, and then a 24-hour ride along, and then a 24-hour shift. And my husband was driving a truck over the road, so he was gone a lot. So that was definitely a challenge. And I would tell my kids, like, it was very hard. I had a lot of guilt when they were younger, because they would go to daycare and like my mom would watch them. And I'm so grateful we had family close. That was a huge game changer for me. But I always told my kids, and I think maybe this is where some of their boundary willingness came, but I always said, if I get to a point where this is no longer sustainable, I need you to tell me. Like nursing school, I missed games, and I missed kids horse shows, and I would work and do those things, and I was like, um just sorry, Ashley, I was going to throw this out, but
That's
um
okay.
definitely working. But no, I would tell them, if we would do stuff intentionally as a family. Like, I had to set that intentional time. I would buy water world passes in the summer, and I would intentionally not take my phone and make sure that I dedicated time to them. And that made me feel better and feel less guilty, because I hated like working overnights or coming home late, or it just, that stuff wears on you. And I don't my kids didn't know any different, so I don't know. And I halfway wonder too if that's why they fell into the career too, because they're like, well, mom does this and it worked good for mom and dad for all these years, so maybe it'll be okay for us. They don't know the 9 to 5 jobs and what those feel like. But it was always like, I always set time on my calendar for the kids, and I had to do that with intention, and I couldn't let anything else get in the way. And I'm grateful I did. Like, I never wanted to miss sporting events, but we work weekends and holidays.
Mhm.
Christmas was the worst. Like, are you going to be there for Christmas? Nope, not this year. Can we celebrate it on a different day? Like, and fast forward to now, they understand it, but I don't think little kids understand mom's job. What does mom do, and why is she leaving us at the dark hours of the night, or why does she come home tired and cranky? And so you had to pack that stuff in. You couldn't bring that home with you, and that was very challenging, because they sense your energy. Kids
Mhm.
are not, you can say you're fine and they're like, but you're not. Like,
Right.
you didn't put the milk in the cereal, you put coffee in the cereal, mom. Like, that's not what we're here to do. So in those terms, those were the challenges. But just setting intentional time. And it honestly, actually, it shocked me when April was like, I want to go to EMT school. I was like, you do? Like, of course I support you. And then Andy, when he came home from Boston from playing hockey, he's like, I think this is what I want to do. And I was like, all right, like, of course I'll help you. I'm just shocked that, I feel like we must have been a decent enough front that they were like, oh, this looks like a great, a great job.
Yeah, we could do this.
So, it's a challenge, but I have a grateful family and a wonderful family and a big support system too. Like, my folks were here and my in-laws were here. And so trusting, and I had a great lady, our babysitter, her name was Juanita, and we still keep track of her. And she would watch the kids when Brian and I both worked nights. And, we joke, we did all the wrong things. They went to public school. We worked out, they went to home, not home daycare. And so it just, I think looking back, I'm grateful that I set the time with them and I didn't let things interfere with that. Like, I worry that it would have been different if I didn't set at least that boundary alone,
Mhm.
and say, nope, this is our time, and we're going to take this, and we're going to go on vacation as a family, and everything can wait.
Such good advice.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you have to own it. Like put it in your calendar and pin. That's back when we had paper calendars, I admit, but it's too easy to take it out of your phone,
Mhm.
put it in pin, stick to it. And it's so healthy. It's so healthy. And it's healthy for them to see the coping. Like, and I eventually let them see the bad days too. I would talk to them like, here's, I'd come home grouchy and they're like, what happened? And I'm like, I'm going to tell you what happened because they're my family. They need to see why mom's grouchy or, you know, and I celebrate the wins too. Like, hey, we did this today. And it was really great. Or, you know, I got to go and see different things. So I think unintentionally or intentionally, we showed them the good side of the industry as well as the bad side. They saw they know how to set boundaries. And like I said, I'm super grateful for that.
Yeah. I think knowing them is like you did a very brilliant job. So well
Well,
done.
I appreciate it. They're good kids. I'm happy to have them out there in the world and, they made good decisions despite us or not.
What is I always like to kind of end with some of this is what is some advice you would give to like the 5 year and under group? Those folks that are just kind of starting out, like your kids are in a
Yeah,
perfect side of it, but what advice would you give based on the career that you've had and what life has looked like for you?
I think just give yourself some grace. You're not going to know everything out of the chute. You're going to make mistakes. And don't hang those over your head. Like we're human. It's a human industry. It's impossible to know everything. And like I said, Ashley, we talked about this already, but there's so much change and it's changing at such a fast rate that you can't keep up. So you have to allow yourself to make mistakes. The other thing is and I don't know if it's necessary. I guess it's spiritual, but sometimes we're just the middleman, right? Like what is going to happen regardless. You can do the right thing at the right time and the patient has a bad outcome. You can do the wrong thing at the wrong time and the patient has a good outcome. So we're we're the middleman, and I think when you can appreciate that, take some of the weight off your shoulders. This isn't all on you. It's what happened to these people happened before you got there. You got called to just be a part of their situation. And so give yourself some grace, take a deep breath. You're not responsible for as much as you think you are. And I know that sounds awful, but you can't put all this on you. You will have a very short-lived career if you think you are responsible for every outcome, good or bad. If you think you're only responsible for the good ones, you're going to be a cocky, arrogant jerk and you're going to hurt somebody. And if you think you're only responsible for the bad ones, then you're never going to grow in your career because you're going to be afraid of everything. So just give yourself grace and have confidence and, ask a lot of questions, do a lot of research, talk to your partners after the call. I talk to them after even every call now, like, how did that go? What do we need to work on? What can we do better? What went well? Because there's something good in every day. And that's what I always say. Like, even when I leave the hospital, I'm like, I go home. I go home at the end of the day. My patients don't.
Mhm.
And to me, that's what keeps me coming back day after day is
Sounds like gratitude, really.
yes, 100%. Yep. And
Yeah.
just, yeah, gratitude and grace. Like, it's just don't beat yourself up. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
There's plenty of other people to do that for you. Don't do it
No
yourself.
doubt. It's getting harder and harder. So really dig
So
into your
hard.
gratitude and grace practice.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, just be and I close my day out with what went well.
Mm,
Like and then I thank goodness every day that I wake up. I'm like, okay, I woke up. This is another day to let it be what it's going to be and I'm going to put a smile on my face and like you say just gratitude. Be kind to everyone because you don't know their situation,
mhm.
you know. Yeah, and drink coffee. Coffee's good too.
Yes. Coffee is good.
I like my coffee, but you have to have something. Like whatever your motivation is, you have to have something that
Mhm.
keeps you going. And some people do the gym. Some people, like I say, ride bikes or play hockey or play sports or whatever that looks like. Have that and don't let anybody challenge that. If you are like, I'm going to go home and crochet, that's my outlet. Don't let anybody challenge that. Know what your outlet is and don't be afraid to use it.
Mm. Yeah, really powerful. Embrace embrace those things that build your identity outside of
Yeah.
the uniform.
Yeah. Yeah. When you take that uniform off, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
You know, crochet a blanket. Okay, then go crochet a blanket. Don't ask me
Yeah,
to
I
do
mean,
that
I
because I'll be
wish
like, here's some yarn.
yeah, I don't have that kind of talent, so I
I
really
don't
admire
either.
those who do.
Thank goodness. Yeah, if you needed me to crochet you a blanket, you'd be out of luck.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. What's one of your favorite self-care practices that's happening for you right now?
I'm a really big, like, I love playing ice hockey,
Mhm.
and to me that is my outlet. I play with the women's team and I love it because they have no idea what I do. They don't ask me questions about my job. They don't care.
Mhm.
So I go and play sports, and then my husband and I go play hockey on Fridays. We're on an over 50 league, which is funny to think that I'm like, I can play on that league. Oh, okay. But we just make time for my husband and make time for me. Like, even if I play terribly, I say I'm not at work and this is my me time. And so I do those things. I do chiropractic and acupuncture and massage, and A, because they are important to me, but B, because I can't do anything with work while I'm in those places.
Oh,
And
yes.
so setting time aside, that's me time, and it's not external environment time. It's only for me. Like when I'm on the hockey rink, I'm thinking about what the next play is. How can I be better, smarter, faster? Even if I'm playing, we had a game the other night and we lost, I don't know, it was like 700 to nothing. It wasn't quite that bad, but it felt that bad. But we just played the whole game. Like, even though we were getting our tails handed to us, every single one of us skated the entire game, and we were sweaty and hot and tired when we got done. But we left everything on the ice. Like, nothing else mattered except the game at that moment. And you have to have things that do that. You have to have things where that outside environment is gone. And so for me, that's hockey and massage and chiropractic and acupuncture, and because there's no outside influence, period. I'm scheduled to do this and I'll be there.
Mhm. It sounds like being very strategic about like what things you're doing for you, and like you mentioned, like you're not doing anything for work during those times,
Yep.
which is so important. If you're, even if you're sitting at home on the couch, like you're not scrolling through work emails or sucked into that whole world, is like you're purposely checking yourself out of that environment.
Yep. And I like the things that make me make an appointment, if you will, like
Mm.
acupuncture. I have to be there at 2 o'clock. I will be there at 2 o'clock. Like, there's no gray area in that.
Hmm.
And so I think the same, exactly, like, set yourself a time and hold yourself accountable, or have an accountability partner. Like Brian and I, like, Brian's my husband. Hey, I'm going to see you at the rink at 2 o'clock. Okay, we'll both be there at 2 o'clock.
Hmm.
And so that, just setting that intention is feels like 90% of the battle.
Yes.
Sometimes I just want to be like, I just want to go home and sleep, but I'm not, because I'm accountable to you and myself, and passively accountable to my own self-care.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm so excited to watch you transition whenever that is outside
Yeah.
of, this season into the next season, and watch you grow, and like how that will look for you, and continuing to help the helpers as well. I think remembering you have a very strong calling for that too. So it's showing up for the people who might still be in the uniform. And
And I think that's how I'll transition out. Like, I
yeah.
think I'll still be like, okay, here's what I think you can do, and here's how I can help you do that.
Hmm.
Like, and just be aware of it, like, you have to want it, but I think you have to recognize it too. Want is one thing, but I have to be able to say, like, okay, I'm ready,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah, embracing your purpose in
Yep.
whatever season it is for you.
Yeah, and you're totally right. It's a season.
Hmm.
Like, we go through phases, and now it's time for me to do this, and time for me to take my wonderful experiences that I've had and add this light to them, or take away something when I'm like, that was a bad idea. I don't recommend doing X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, yeah. Getting your partner lost going to the hospital is not helpful.
Yeah. No, I had not quite the same, but a similar experience when driving, it was like one of my first shifts on a 911 car, and we were driving a cardiac arrest from the jail to the hospital. And I was like, he's like, code 3. And I was like, what does code 3 mean?
What does that mean? Yeah, like, okay.
And he's like, aren't you going? And I was like, he's like, I don't hear sirens. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what am I doing?
You're like, I don't even know where I'm going. And then you sit there and you're like, who chose me for this job?
Yeah, I know. What am I doing?
Yes.
Oh, God.
And here we are. And it's and I'm so glad you're doing what you're doing, Ashley. We need it. It's
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a blessing. It never feels like work to me. So it's such a cool, like, new season for me for sure too.
Yeah, and I'm so grateful you're here because it's so important to have allies who know.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
Whether you're 2 minutes or 20 years,
Yeah.
having just the knowledge is incredible.
Yeah. Well, thank you so, so much. I am so excited for everybody to get to hear everything you have to say, and really, really valuable experience and advice and sharing, and just encourage people to embrace all of it. So I really, really appreciate you and all the work you continue to do out there too. And
you too, girl. I just love you. Thank you for this opportunity. It was fun.
Yeah, very much. Well, I will see you again very soon.
Okay, sounds good. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us around the fire today. We appreciate you taking the time to listen, and I hope that you found value in our conversation. If you enjoyed this episode, please give us a like and share it with your community. Remember, we'll be sitting around the fire again soon, so keep an eye out for more episodes where we continue to explore the stories and insights of first responders. Until next time, stay safe and keep the fire burning.